Welcome back to Reynolds Runabouts, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Reynolds, and in this episode, I'm going to show you how I put the transom back on the boat and connected it both to the deck beams and to the floor area that supports the floor and gives it all the strength that it needs to get up and down the lake. So let's get to work. I went ahead and did a dry fit on the transom and the framework inside. You can see that I've faired it. That's with the new plywood. Boy, does it have a lot of fasteners. And those fastener holes were original. I went ahead and just mimicked it from the frame out, and that's the way it looked. So these will all get bungs eventually. And I'm going to leave the transom loose until I put all the framework in 5200. And see, I went ahead and dry fitted everything, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the transom out at 2 points, here and here, and then the transom will come off. The other fasteners are sent in from the outside of the transom in, so I have to get some get my levels out and everything to make sure I have a good target before I send that in, and then I'll be sure of it. So what I'm going to do is take the transom off at those 2 points, and I'm going to work on the pieces that are on the transom interior face. Those can all be glued on and screwed on my bench. And then when I come back to the boat, these supports, you can see the angled supports, I will just put 5200 on those and then bolt them in. Those go into the transom framing and then into the bottom of the boat. All of that force of the motor pushing and pulling with the motor is transferred from those angled brackets down into the floor and stringers and keelson, and also this thwart slash floor that's going across the back of the boat and into these top clamps, which allow for the deck to connect, but also for the inside combing. And it forces all that pressure down the boat on the top and on the bottom. The stuff that goes on the bottom of the transom, the fasteners, which there's a lot, is really just to hold it onto the skin of the boat. All of the force is forced into the frames and the keelson and the stringers, so it's really well done. Especially, I think at least an 800 Merc 800 will go on this, which is 80 horse, maybe even 1,000. So it could have a 80 to 100 horsepower motor on it when the restoration is done. So I'm glad that I rebuilt that, and I'll be putting the 5200 in the bottom seam, go around here all the way, and then there'll be screws also on the perimeter into the new glass that I made. So yeah, and that's something I have to worry about too, is I have to go on that bottom yet and do a little work. So I'll send fasteners, but I might have to pull some out as I'm sanding, but that's fine. The 5200 will be in place. It'll be holding the boat, so I won't have to worry about the fastener doing the holding. So what I'm going to do is pull that transom off, and I will show you how I put the 5200 on and the new fasteners and get it ready to put back on the boat. I have the transom on my bench, and I've test fitted everything, re-drilled holes that had epoxy to make sure things were correct, and then I laid it out, put the tape on, which will help the reduce of the 5200 mess, as I've found working through the hard way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this first, because this has to go in and then down and then the other pieces are flat. And once I get all that done, I'll take it over to the boat, and then I'll do this outside edge, and then drive the fasteners up through the bottom, which have also been pre-drilled because there was a lot of epoxy with the repair not only to the bow or the bottom of this, but also the hull. So everything's pre-drilled, test fitted, ready to go. So what I've done is I've cleaned the surfaces with the denatured alcohol, clean the surfaces that all these are going to fall on and the adhesive is going to be on. I'm going to use mahogany 3M5200 because that's the tubes I'm into right now, and I'm going to do the transom bottom, so I thought I'll just use mahogany. The mahogany will show on the back or the exterior surface, so I want that color to be very close to the stain and then the varnish, so I thought I'd just do the whole transom that way. So went ahead and got my 5200 ready, got the surface cleaned. I'm going to pull this apart, and I'm just going to butter up the surfaces that I need. This one I can't really put tape on, so I'm just going to do the ends and then just put them in one by one. I figure the less rush I'm in and the less 5200 they get in the wrong place, the better. So I'm going to go ahead and put those together and get this thing ready. As always, looking for good squeeze out. And I'm getting that. And I'll continue with the rest of it. All right, I've got the transom internal pieces on. I've got the glue cleaned up. Using the tape is just so much easier if you just take the time to do the tape. I try to get as much, obviously, as much as I can into the corners if I have a fillet, and then I scrape as much as I can on the top, and then the tape, and then you have very little goo that will find its way on something else. So I'm going to get this ready to go on the boat. I'm gonna lay the 5200 in to the inside of the transom. I think the less I have to come into contact with it, the better. And I'll put it in there and I'll kind of put it on top, and we'll get a good squeeze. And yeah, it's got enough flex in it so I can push it out a bit, and it'll get the sides right here and here. So I'm go ahead and do that and get this thing back on the boat. Probably wondering, why has Jeff got the boat up in the air? Well, you got to be able to get the fasteners through the majority of this joint or on the bottom. So I can sit in my work chair and stand and get the whole perimeter. So I decided to go this route. So it's in place. I got good squeeze out already, and I haven't even used the fasteners yet. So I'm going to really be putting the heat on that with the fasteners. I'm going to start in the middle and with 1.25 inches, then 1.5 inches as I get close to the bend, and then sometimes I have a 2 inch because there's so much bend that it's trying to pull in, and that's where the glass repair is on both chines. So I have to put a little extra screw in there. So I'm gonna do that. And really, all it is just mostly 1.25 inches. And I just work my way from center line each way. All of these are pre-drilled. So here's my center line. And you can see the squeeze out right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to get real boring for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will touch base with you when I get this all fastened. All right, well, that is that. That went pretty quick. A lot of the work went into pre-drilling it, making sure the dry fit was good. And now what I'm going to do is clean it up a bit. There's probably 1/8 of an inch I left on this, which I'm going to take off with the sander very gently. I'll even have a protector against this plywood so do not mess that up. I'm not sure we're going to put the water line through here or not, so that edge this could be bright back here, stain and varnish. I'm going to try my best to keep it pristine. And eventually this whole transom will be plugged. I see some of these are not shallow enough or deep enough, so I'll pull back out and re-drill, make sure they're countersink, I mean. And then some of these I'm going to pull to go into some structural pieces. When I took the boat apart, there were periodically you have a 3 inch, and that was because it was going into a frame. I do not know which ones those are. I will find out pretty quick. So I can always pull those out. But right now, very happy with the squeeze out. My tape is here, the tape's on the inside. Should be an easy cleanup. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to jump up, bring the boat down so we can work on attaching the inner frame of the boat to the transom that helps transfer all that torque to and from. So let's get at it. So holding the transom to the bottom of the boat and taking all of that force and thrusting it through the really well developed support on the floor are these three supports. And I've already taped the areas that are going to get the 5200. And then they have bolts, that, or excuse me, large screws that come in not only from this inner bulkhead slash floor, but also they're through this frame, which you saw me just put together and then bolted with nuts. So I have to do that. And then the one in the middle takes a lot of the force that the motor will be exerting. That has a hole in it that allows a screw that I put in, well, months ago now. It comes up through the top of the vertical stringer and into the hole, and then it gets a nut and a washer for its support. And then it's attached also through that floor bulkhead and from the outside of the transom. So that's the one I have to do yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get those gooped up and put them in, and we'll have at least the floor structure of the boat is now complete. So it's hard for me to show that to you, so I'll just go ahead and put them in, and then I'll give you kind of a walk around, see what we did. All right, I've got the transom all secured. So walking around, you can get a better shot. You can see that the angled supports are now in. 1, 2, 3. I also put in some blocking this is the inside of the combing. It's the combing clamp that gives you that really cool deck run. This is going to be lower than this, which is going to be really cool. So yeah, I got those all in. I bolted the ones that had to be bolted and screwed in the ones that had to be screwed. And the next step will be to go ahead and put there's a box that goes here. It's called an engine well, and that motor sits kind of into it. If water comes over the transom, it then spills into that well instead of the boat, and then out through some drain holes, which I still have to put on this new transom. So that is the end of that. So there you are, a new transom. I'm going to leave this again proud on the bottom. This is the bottom of the boat. I'm going to leave that proud until I get some fairing done on the bottom, and then I'll fair that in against this. I'll leave the tape on, and when I do the sanding, that tape, I can either cut it with a utility knife, or when I sand, it'll hit that and take it right off. So I'm going to leave that in place. I want to make sure that gap is really strong, and I'm going to keep it filled, overfilled. The rest of the transom is, like I just showed you, all the supports, both the deck and the lower floor area are now connected. The transom is ready to go. Pulling and pushing, this will be great. This is a little bit proud. I think something happened in my frame, or it was even bent. It's got a funny, weird look to it. So I'm going to put a straight edge and a level on there to make sure everything's right. It might just need to be trimmed or just pushed down. You can see it's got quite a bit of spring in it, so I'm going to do that later. So that will be the end of this episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the series, please hit the subscribe button. If you're enjoying it to the point where it's entertaining and useful to you, please hit the like button. It's always nice to receive positive feedback, and I will see you in 2 weeks.